Hello and welcome to Between Two Cones. Today we're talking about risk management. I have with me my guest, Brad Buckles. Brad, do you mind telling me about yourself and CPPI?
Yeah, thanks, Nick, for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an honor. Charles Perry Partners has been in business since 1968. Our focus is on institutional construction. So we have the opportunity of serving, K-12 schools, higher education. Healthcare is a big segment and a big passion for CPPI, but we also do other different types of areas of construction as well, from government to office buildings and things like that. My role at CPPI is Director of Technology. And what that means is that we need to make sure we're providing the right solutions to our construction management team so that they can mitigate the risk that's on the project, because risk manifests itself into multiple different pillars.
That's really helpful. As we've talked before, you tend to have this model of three legs of risk management. Do you mind kind of walking me through the top tiers or the top three that you have?
Yeah, I mean, it would go with safety. As I spoke with a little while ago, quality, schedule. I would add on to that financial, but there's that's just the cusp of the types of risk that we deal with on a day to day basis in construction firms. But those are the ones that we're closely making sure that we're innovating as much as we possibly can on.
Great. If you don't mind, let's start with the risk side of things. What
Sure.
tools and techniques do you use to identify risks and measure your risk mitigation?
Well, it all starts with a structured safety program. So when we're looking at safety and we're making sure that we're covering all aspects of that, we need to make sure that we're leveraging the tools and technologies that we have available. And I'll tell you that this is one area that has expanded in the industry and really have grown over the last 10 years. CPPI is right on the cusp of making sure that we leverage those tools out in the field. So we utilize Autodesk Build for creating forms that really drive awareness out on the projects. But it's also logic driven. So under certain circumstances, we would require an issue to be created and assigned to the appropriate person. We use IoT technologies. You don't think about that probably unless you're in the construction industry, how IoT can really help make a job site safe. But at CPPI, one of our primary clients is healthcare, so it's very important that when we're going on an existing healthcare facility, that we're keeping that facility safe. So we leverage IoT on some of our projects to ensure that there's no increased particle counts in the air, or that there's no water leaks. There's multiple different sensors that we'll deploy to ensure that project's safe. That structured safety program that I was telling you about, our operations team is trained. We also use aerial video and photography. Utilizing drones in construction is something that is very powerful, because we can see that bird's eye view as we examine the project site. When you're on the field, you can't necessarily see all the things that is necessary to capture. So having that drone footage is absolutely paramount.
I'm interested to hear how CPPI stays on top of schedule risk. Are there any
Mm.
leading indicators or ways for your team to mitigate that risk early on before it's gone too far?
It's very important when you're dealing with clients that you meet schedule, you meet the proper milestones. And so at CPPI, we make sure that it all starts with a high quality and a detailed schedule. We put a training program in place to ensure that our project managers and superintendents are well trained on how to mitigate risk in schedules. And then we have the tools available to us, like Smart PM, for example, that generates performance reports and KPI trend graphs so that we can better understand the schedule quality itself, and capture those milestones and KPIs in a meaningful and actionable way.
Great. Um, can you tell me a little bit about CPPI's role as essentially a risk manager or a financial risk manager for
Mm.
your clients? What's made CPPI successful, and has anything changed in regards to COVID?
Yeah, a lot's changed since COVID. But one of the things as a construction manager, our team in operations, they have to carefully guard our clients' budget to make sure that we meet their expectations and that we're good stewards of their money. So, one of the things that we try to do is from an innovation side is provide seamless workflows. I tout we want to touch data one time. If I'm updating a spreadsheet here and then I have to turn around and save it to this folder, and then accounting has to pick this up, and that data is being handled multiple times, and that increases the amount of time or amount of touches where errors could go wrong or problems could occur with that data. So my objective here at CPPI is to touch data one time. That's going to increase the accuracy of that data. That's going to ensure that it's processed very quickly. And it also gives that real time knowledge out in the field to be able to see how that budget is progressing through the life cycle of the project. Um, COVID, my stars, it really has affected us quite a bit. I don't think anyone here or anyone listening could not understand the supply chain risks that we have. I was talking to, our chief operating officer, Steve Williams, about this just the other day. And he was speaking about various different challenges that we're having, and shortages, not only just from product, but also the skilled labor that's out in the field as well. So identifying materials, he was telling me that it's just important that we identify any material that could have a delay, order them early, find out alternate products or even possibly modify designs to ensure that we're getting that we adhere to that schedule, that we're not delaying that project. And at CPPI, we've put a program together to ensure that we're capturing that important information early on into the design phase, early on into the construction process, to mitigate those opportunities where supply chain could be a problem. It's inevitable. Right now, just different products that you order, it's inevitable. And do we think this is going to be something that's going to last forever? No, no, no. We don't. We think this is a short-term problem. We think that, as the supply chain catches up, that's going to reduce the costs back down. That's going to kind of flatten the spikes and the demands that are out there, and things will start to come back to normal. Now, we may have to be innovative and create solutions to make that work. But ultimately, we're hoping that sooner rather than later, those issues are going to be addressed, and that supply chain will be freed up and that log jam will start flowing again.
Mm-hmm. So, can you tell me a little bit about the quality side of risk? You highlighted, and I would imagine rework and those types of things. Is there an aspect or focus on making sure people have the latest information in order to, do their job properly?
There really is. We're very fortunate to have to partner with companies like Egnyte, where we can have real time collaboration on the latest data out in the field. I think back to early on in my career when I started in the construction industry as a director of IT, and just examining kind of where we were at. And one of the things that I noticed was there is a separation between the data inside our offices and the data that's out in the field. And man, they did a great job working around those constraints, but the time to delivery of data was certainly, as they would say, snail mail, right? So with partnering with companies like Egnyte, where we have that real time synchronization between the offices, the job sites, the mobile apps that we have available in the hands of the people that need that data, is extremely important. We were talking about safety just a little while ago, Nick, and one of the key components is making sure that we have the product data sheets on some of the materials that we have on site. If someone was to get injured with a chemical, for example, they need to know the proper steps to take immediately. They just can't wait for an expert, to be able to come in and figure all of this out. We need that data right then, right there, available to be able to guide and direct us on what the proper first aid steps would be. So having those apps and having those capabilities to be able to pull that data is just paramount. It really is.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So one final risk that we haven't touched on, but I think it underlies all of those, the various categories that we talked about, is reputational risk. Can you speak to how CPPI has built this trust with your customers over the course of several years, and then how do you work to maintain that, and as that's so important to your business?
Yeah, yeah. That's changed, hasn't it? In this new technology age, before it was just, data was stored in filing cabinets and, it was lock and key. And now we hear day to day where there are cyber attacks going on worldwide and companies are being breached, and ransomware is just a paramount problem that's just affecting multiple businesses and even the personal lives of people. At CPPI, it all starts with structured data. So we make sure that our data is structured. Permissions are given. We use the principle of least privileges. Speaking to IT folks, they kind of know what I'm talking about here. So that it guards that data, so that it protects it. It doesn't just open it up for access by anybody and everyone. So that principle of least privileges is important, but it has to be overlaid on top of a structured data. At CPPI, we built a in-house web application to create that structured data, to automate setting the permissions, to be able to, fundamentally be able to organize our project data. And so we leverage those capabilities as well. Egnyte gives us some tools to be able to ensure that our data is protected as well, and that we have the visibility into what is going on at any point in time with our data. We have multiple stacks of security at CPPI and many other businesses as well. We can't just have that one single solution out there that solves all the problems. So, it's important that construction companies are looking at multiple different stacks, that they're investing in heavily into their security infrastructure, and that they're training their people on those risks as well that exist, Nick. I tell our folks all the time, you're the last line of defense. If other aspects fail and it comes to you via an email or however, you've got to know what to do. So, we're having to train up construction managers and superintendents and the likes to, be aware, be cognizant, and know what to look for when it comes to these types of cyber risks.
Mm-hmm. Great. That's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank our guest, Brad Buckles, the Director of Technology at CPPI, for sharing his time and his insights and his experience. Between Two Cones will be dropping every month, so be sure to catch our next episode. Thanks, and have a great day.